So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
Well, listen here.
Hello, and welcome to 90 Day Fiancé UK. I'm Mr. O, and today it's H and I will be discussing Season 7, Tell All Part 2 of Before the 90 Days. In this episode, Niles tries to defend his choices, but can't really do that because Adnan keeps demanding support for his relationship. Vanja takes Loren's girlfriend test. Joe reveals his real reason for almost missing the plane. Veah and Sunny fight religion with Adnan and Tigerlily. And Brian tries to get everyone thinking Ingrid is scamming. We'll be back again next week to talk about Part 3, and we're also back on our other channel, About Lockup UK, covering the new season of Love During Lockup. Alright, thanks for listening, stay safe, and enjoy.
Hello, Mr. O.
Hello, Miss H.
How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good because my football team did really well this weekend, so I'm riding high.
Yay!
On my Commanders doing really well, so yay.
Well, I was going to say at the expense of my partner's team. So. He was very sad.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the team I wanted to beat, and I felt bad because I was like, everybody was rooting against us, but people, it's my team. It's still my team.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, so we're continuing on with this tell-all, and let's get started with just a shorter segment, kind of lighthearted. So we start off with Vanja. She was encouraging Niles after some confrontation, but then she wants to review over Loren's girlfriend test, and Vanja is answering all these questions, and Loren says that all her answers are correct because it ends up that he really is just interested in like the philosophical approach or how you kind of work things out. So he just keeps on saying, correct. She then tells him he's insane after hearing that he's drowned 8 times and has never died. Then later on when they're on set, we miraculously get Bojo back. And he says that his meeting was very productive. Vanja says that he doesn't like the pressure as Bojo makes another American movie reference about a runaway bride or something. I don't remember. So for some reason, even though he's clearly a flight risk, we move on to another couple.
Yeah, we're just going to leave it there. She's like, we'll come back to you. I was like, will you come back to me?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like people on social media, Reddit, like that's one of the biggest complaints about Sean. Okay, so moving on. It's like, right. Okay, maybe we should not move on because Bojo could bolt.
Yes, but I mean, I also don't know what else they could possibly talk to this man about. It's like we've covered everything we need to cover from him. It's just, it's very weird.
Right.
All right, so we start off the bulk of the episode before we get to some of that stuff, like the girlfriend test. With Niles and Matilda, because we left off last week, like Niles was threatening to break Adnan's face because he had called Matilda a sugar baby. It was a whole sugar daddy, sugar mama thing. And that, as far as Niles is concerned, is on Matilda's character, and he can't stand for somebody insulting Matilda's character. So he starts to get really mad about it, and it makes Adnan and Tigerlily just get these shit-eating grins when they're looking at him, just self-satisfied. We got him. We're going to talk shit about him now. The shoe is on the other foot. So Niles tries to collect himself, and Matilda tells him to stop, and nothing else happens yet. Sean then steers the conversation to the topic of Niles masking and how he sometimes he told us that he doesn't even realize when he's not telling the truth. So he tells us that he knows what the truth and a lie is, outside, but he doesn't, that social cue is autism means he doesn't know, he can't tell what's a big lie and what's an important lie versus what's like a white lie or spinning things. So he says you either get the whole truth or basically a whole pile of bullshit. So, Sean asks him like, how could somebody confuse, you were confused and you said you were just coming to get to know her and she thought you were coming to get to marry him and get engaged. How could you possibly have confused that? And that's when Vanya's like, I understand how you can confuse that. That's like something that I did. But anyway, so they want to let Matilda handle that question. But, Brian gives his opinion that Niles is just afraid to say no to her because Brian just says all women are the devil. And Niles takes responsibility for the confusion because he said that during conversations he had indeed brought up marriage, but he thought he was bringing it up in a, one day we'll be together and we can get married. And she took one day to mean when you get here. That is all. Like, he was like, in the future. She's like, the future when you're here in a couple weeks, right? That future.
Yeah, you meant day one of me being there, not one day.
Yes, day one. Yes, day one instead of one day, for sure. Anyway, so moving on from that, we get some flashback scenes with Mr. Ark, who then joins them remotely. Niles calls him Dad, and when he comes on, he says that his parents know that Mr. Ark stood in for him for the wedding, and they weren't happy about that. Not because they regretted missing this and being able to do it for themselves, but because I can't believe you did this to us. Miles not so great happy about it. Sean asks Mr. Ark if he thinks Niles has broken his promise to get Matilda to the States within the 5 months, and it's been 5 months and she's not in the States, so I guess he has. Sean brings up the $4,000 that he still needs to get, and he says he doesn't know how long it's going to take him to save up that money with this job. That brings up his job where he works. He says he works for the mental health department of the state. It pays the bills, but it's not much else, to be honest. So he doesn't have just like a bunch of $8,000 lying around. Then Sean, for the rest of the segment, Sean brings up stuff that nobody has brought up before just to stir shit. Like, well, should you spend that money to go to Ghana instead? This was not an issue. So she brings that up, and it's kind of like, everybody's like, yeah, Matilda's like, it'd be nice if he could visit me. And she's like, well, that's going to make the visa take longer. What do you think about that? And it's like, okay, whatever. It is kind of silly. Loren thinks, during the conversation though, Loren thinks that maybe you should just go to Ghana. Just spend all your money and go to Ghana. I don't see a problem with that. As, obviously he doesn't see a problem with that. That's what he was. So at this point, Adnan comes into the conversation.
God.
No one asked him. No one was talking to him. And he just says, he more or less kind of does this thing where he's like, listen, I wish all the best for your family. Don't you wish the best for my family? Oh, don't you approve of my family? Why won't you say you approved of my family? You should say it. Just say you approve my family. Say you like it. And does this over and over again. And Niles keeps saying, what is a reasonable thing? We're not talking about you right now. We're talking about me. And it's just so irritating that you can see him just like trying to breathe, like do breathing exercises to calm himself down. And Adnan keeps demanding an answer. Eventually though, he gives up and walks off stage. Then we get some more, Adnan on stage with everybody being like, what? I didn't do anything wrong. What? Why are you all looking at me? Just no one wants to be friends with me because I'm too honest. So
I'm too Adnan.
I'm too honest. Everyone knows the truth. Adnan knows truth. Anyway, Matilda tries to explain that he was being really rude. But he's like, I should be rude. Niles didn't support my relationship. I should be nothing but rude. Then there's more fighting. He demands that everyone pledge support to his relationship. It's like, God. Oh man. Anyway, so things go on along with that until we finally get to stop talking about it goes around to you support. What about you? I support. Brian supports my relationship. What about you? Like, it's
stupid.
It's so self-centered and so weird. But anyway, we aren't talking about Adnan right now. We get back to Mr. Ark. Sean asks what Mr. Ark thinks about Niles walking off, and he's just like, that was incredibly rude. I'm not a fan of that, which I was just like, that's a huge cultural difference as far as I'm concerned. Because he's like, I can't believe he would walk off like that. It's terrible. He should apologize when he comes back. I guess it would have been better if Niles just punched him in the face, but I don't know. So that gets us backstage. Niles is trying to cool off. So he thinks that not only was Adnan like doing this, he was doing it in front of everyone when he knew that I'm in front of my wife, I'm in front of my dad, I can't lose my shit. And so you were just doing that controlling, manipulative stuff. Anyway, a true coward move. Sean continues to bring up shit that nobody talked about. Nobody brought up in the show. She's like, hey, Mr. Ark, here's a social media post that says you're a pushy and Niles wouldn't have gotten married without you. And he's just like, I didn't do that. No, I just told him you can't do the knocking ceremony, not the wedding. That's just not how we do things here. Of course, when he said that as defending himself, he talked about it like he was it's like when you buy a tomato. You can't agree to pay the tomato and not pay the tomato. It's like, why are we talking about her like she's something you're buying? Anyway, so Joe thinks that, Vanya thinks he was just intimidated in the marriage. Joe is just like, I don't even think it was pressure. I think he wanted to do it. He just was stressed out by not being able to afford it. And Sonny is like, kind of takes Mr. Ark's side too. So while that's going on, Niles comes back on stage and Mr. Ark demands that he apologize. He apologizes to Mr. Ark and to everybody for walking off and letting someone bring him out of his right mind. But guess who wants an apology too?
Oh, God.
He believes he needs an apology, which Niles very obviously does not think he's owed. Matilda starts crying that Adnan's disrespecting her husband, which makes Niles definitely feel a certain way. So to the point where he's like holding his hand, he's like, just to make this clear, if I explode on him, I'm going to be wrong, right? And everybody's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. He's like, okay. So, anyway, they pivot to future plans, like, do they want children? And Matilda says yes, but wants Niles to say how many for some reason. He said he'd like a son and a daughter, and then squishy them. Then there's more stuff that happens on a break. Tigerlily. Oh, well, I'll let you do that. We go back and forth between Adnan and Tigerlily and Niles. And Vanya tells Niles that she's proud that he kept his composure as much as he did. He's getting overstimulated from all the residual anger. He calls Matilda to calm himself down. And he was really surprised. He thought if anybody was going to make him this angry, it was going to be Loren, not Adnan. And then we get back to them way at the end of the episode because the cast is sitting down for lunch. And, Vanya's talking about, why did Adnan make you so angry? And he said it definitely was the sugar daddy comment, which he did take as intentional trolling and an intentional insult to his wife, which he just can't sit by and let go. He says his marriage is the strongest in the room, which is like there's only 2 marriages in the room, right? And he resents being grouped into the you guys rushed into marriage group. But, the people talking to him are like, you guys didn't discuss a whole lot before you got married. So anyway, he comes back inside, and that's when the shit kind of hits the fan with Adnan. He makes a dumb comment. Niles gets in his face, and he says, what people do down south when they get disrespected like that. The implication being kick your ass, right? Is what happens there. So there was also some stuff that was kind of intertwined with Adnan and, Lily and Adnan and Niles when we were doing this. So I know you had Tigerlily and Adnan on this. So why don't you add what they added to this?
So mostly Adnan is so concerned with getting other people to be on board with his relationship. As you mentioned, he's trying to get everyone to pledge allegiance to their union. So Brian at some point tries to say that everybody loves and supports Adnan and Tigerlily, which at that point put Adnan in a pretty good mood. And that's when he tried to start up a conversation with Mr. Ark, which comes off to everyone as just disrespectful.
Well, he did, because it was very we'll talk about it. Yes, we'll get to that.
So Tigerlily, she actually seems to be pretty pleased with Adnan as he's grinning when everyone agreed that Niles would be wrong to blow up at Adnan. And then Tigerlily doesn't think that Adnan actually needs defending because he's right. And she thinks that Niles is a sugar daddy who needs to be making a lot more money to support Matilda. She says that he has a Chihuahua body, but Rottweiler energy. Later, Vanya asks Tigerlily about her previous marriage, and she's trying to really get the real story behind it. So she's trying to ask her this when Adnan isn't there. And before Tigerlily is able to reply, Vanya says he's coming. And Vanya says something about how she's not going to cover up, her body. And Adnan kind of mocks Vanya about peacocking and does like a peacock motion. Oh, you want to show off? So Tigerlily wants to leave this conversation just to rest or whatever. And Vanya says that Adnan can stay to talk to her, but they tell her that he can't talk to another woman without Tigerlily, his wife, being there. So Vanya interpreted that interaction as Adnan doesn't value talking to women and just won't talk to women. So it's brought up when they're on stage again. Vanya thinks that Adnan can dish it, but he just cannot take it. And they actually, Tigerlily and Adnan, when they're confronted about this, Tigerlily gets very passionate about defending her position that it's not about that it's a woman, it's about the fact that he's married and it's disrespectful to her because she also can't be alone with men, and so she's trying to avoid the whole double standard thing, etc., etc. So that was pretty much all that kind of happened, was Adnan trying to bully everyone into saying that they loved them.
Yeah. So, oh my God. So I think my big takeaway here was that for all this, we hate on Adnan, everybody hates on Adnan, well-deserved, well-justified, will not argue it. Tigerlily is shit.
Oh, yeah. She's terrible, too.
She's awful. Like,
yeah.
The fact that they did all that, her husband was extremely disrespectful to Niles, and she's like, well, he should be, because he's a fucking little dog. Like, fuck that guy. Like, like, I'm not gonna, she's like, I don't feel like I have to defend my husband, because he's right. She is a sugar mom. She is a sugar baby. It's like, maybe he should just go, maybe the poor should just go make more money. Like, maybe that's the solution to everything. Like, why don't he just make more money and then we'd be fine? It's so easy. Like, oh my God, just the most infuriating, out of touch rich person I can imagine.
Right. No, I hope these two, I hope they stay together forever and that they make each other miserable. Yep. That's what I hope for them.
Yeah. And it's like, and the thing is the way he wouldn't have understood it, and he would have been just as mad. I mean, I would, if I'm me and you're asking me to pledge a relationship, do you support the relationship? I'd be like, listen, I want your family, your kid, your people to be happy. Yeah. But I think in order for that to work, you have to change your ways. Like, I support it. I don't think it's going to work unless you change. And then he'd be like, how you disrespect? Just his idea. He's such a spoiled asshole that he cannot comprehend that disagreement is not disrespect. Like, right. I think what you did was wrong. How dare you disrespect me? I'm going to call you all the names I can think of. Like, it's not, and then goes in and is like, when sees Niles in the hallway and is like, it's not nice to meet you. What are you in fourth grade? What the hell kind of taunt is that? Just infuriatingly spoiled, infuriatingly juvenile. And Tigerlily is like one of those things that she's just letting him say it, even though she totally agrees with him.
Oh, yeah. The thing with them is, as annoying as it is to have Brian say, oh, everybody loves you. It's like, Brian doesn't really believe that, right? He's just trying
to manipulate. He's trying to
manipulate by acting like he's playing nice. And Adnan is so fucking self-absorbed that he takes the bait. And he's like, oh, everybody loves me. All of a sudden, he's like genuinely in a good mood, which is just like, tells you how immature this guy is. But, I feel like they should all just take a page from Brian's book and just, oh yeah, everything's great. Just not even engage with this dude, because that, I feel like, is what he's really thriving on. Attention and what he thinks is like admiration and love for Adnan. And it's just like, just stop giving him any kind of attention. And I feel like he'll just fade into the background, and especially because, I mean, the rumor is that they will not be on a show again because he was
like abusive to a producer.
Threatening that he's gonna kill like multiple people. And I mean, and I believe it, and I don't necessarily, I'm not gonna say that it was like a legitimate threat. As in, like, do I really believe he's gonna, attempt to murder people? I don't know. That's a little far. Do I believe that he said that? Absolutely. We hear him saying that.
He said, I will kill you to multiple people, multiple times. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, yeah, I believe that. Now, I'm not there, so I cannot attest to whether or not other people felt endangered by that. But he did say it. I believe it. And so it's like, great. We'll never see these two assholes ever again.
Yeah. I mean, and he was an asshole. Like, and not just an asshole to the people who he felt defending. He was an asshole to Mr. Ark. Like, that was some borderline racist shit of him being like, hey, Mr. Ark from Africa, look at the get up you're wearing. That is crazy. It's like, what the shit was that? What is that?
He's just weird.
Like, and it makes no sense. But I mean, and the thing is like, especially for us, it's like, we know, and he knows that Niles is autistic. He doesn't know what that means because he's a fucking idiot. But,
yeah, true.
but like, I feel like, there's always this trope and stuff that went along, but I feel like as a society, we've generally come to the point where if someone is like taking advantage of someone else's disability to like get the upper hand on them, most people look at them as like a gross person. And that's like 100% what he was doing on this stage, was being like, ooh, look at him getting all mad. Isn't that funny? Ooh, I have the upper hand. Look at me smugly smile by antagonizing the autistic guy. Like, what? It's like, it's just so wild that he thinks he comes off as anything other than just a complete dipshit.
Well, speaking of coming off as a complete dipshit, let's talk about Joe and Magda's little segment where we have a truth that comes out. So first of all, Magda updates everyone that they're doing pretty good in their relationship, and Joey says that he's pretty lucky to be with her, and he also feels that things are going well. Ends up that Magda has been to the U.S. to visit Joe and his family and his friends, which Joe said is necessary if he's going to propose. Magda liked the friends, especially Stephanie and Rob, and Joe still calling her Magna, and saying that his friends think that she'll cut off his balls if he ever cheats on her. Joe says they did a lot of things when she visited, and Magda says that she wants to live with Joey, and he won't move to Poland. So she says that she'll move to the U.S., but it won't be easy. Joe says that there are no more things that need to happen before he proposes, but he wants it to be the right time. Magda says that they will need to fill out the visa, and she needs time to change her life. And it comes out that Magda is asking Joey at least once a week and giving him a guilt trip by saying that she has no job to try get him to move things along. Mm-hmm. Magda talks about a ring that her best friend bought her and how she puts it on her ring finger to get people to leave her alone so she's not hit on. Magda says that Joey's always known how she felt about marriage and kids, but Brian seems to think that she's pushing an engagement and it's putting him in a pressure cooker. And Niles agrees that it never feels good to feel pressured. While Vanja totally understands, Magda's side, because that's the only way that they can be together is if they're engaged and living together. So we then get the real reason why Joe had to turn around on his way to the airport. If you recall, he claimed he forgot his passport, but it ends up that he had his passport. He just wanted to go back to get the shooters from his fridge. And everyone is just confused at this choice because Joey says that shooters are $12 at the airport, and he made it like it's not a big deal, but he didn't want to pay the $12. And I can't even imagine how many shooters he had. But I'm going to guess less than $50 worth. So he almost missed his flight for a matter of $50. So Magda doesn't think much about it. And Joey defends his decision as smart. And then, Magda doesn't really seem to care because he made it. And so she doesn't really care knowing after the fact. I'm sure she would have felt differently if she was stressed in the moment. Mm-hmm. Then Sean, our host, asks about the open door bathroom policy. And Magda says that she's become more okay with talking to him on the phone when he's in the bathroom, but in real life, not happening, which then gets a round of, is it okay between all the cast members? And I think the trend was the women say not okay. The men seemed a little bit more open to the idea. So
sure.
All right. What do you think about this revelation of Joe going back for $50 worth of shooters?
I honestly didn't know you could take shooters through security. It would have never occurred to me. If they're sealed, right?
It's solid. No. A couple of things, right? Shooters, I'm thinking when they say shooters, they mean like Jell-O shooters.
Oh, see, I thought when he said shooters, he meant minis. Like mini shot.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. Minis in terms of like the liquid volume.
The liquid volume, right?
That's fine. Mm-hmm. But they really do not want you to be bringing in your own alcohol. So I don't know if maybe the shooters he's talking about, maybe, he just kind of threw it into his toiletry bag so they couldn't necessarily tell. But yeah, they don't like you to bring outside alcohol because what they really don't want, and I have had enough layovers and flights in Vegas to see this happen on more than one occasion.
sure.
They do not like you
Bringing your own
drunk
alcohol on
off
the
your
plane.
ass. Yeah.
Because if you bring your own, there's nobody can cut you off.
Right. And so they don't want that. And I've seen people not be allowed on board because of how drunk they appeared to be while they were, boarding. So
Yeah. And that was my initial thing. It was like, I think this guy just like admitted to breaking the law by bringing his own shooters onto a plane.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where, if you got it past security, it's not necessarily illegal. Like if, for example, let's say you happen to get a gun past security. It's super illegal, right? Just because you didn't get caught.
Yeah.
If you got, caught with alcohol, I'm sure you're
not getting arrested. Yeah, not arrested, but I'm sure they can kick you off the flight. I'm sure they definitely can deny you access to the flight.
Yeah, they sure.
For sure. And so that seems like when you're already late for the flight to be, I got to go back to get something that might get me denied access to the flight if I get caught with it. It seems like an awful thing. And especially because it's like, I was saving money. It's so expensive. You could also just not drink like on the plane.
Or let's talk about the money you don't save if you have to change your flight because idiot missed it.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Because they're not just going to book you on another flight. You probably have to pay some kind of like change fee or something. That's probably going to be a couple $100. Yeah. So it's like, no, that's not smart. What are you doing?
Well, that's the other thing too. Maybe it's different because I just had to renew a passport that didn't have any stamps on it because I haven't been out of the country in a long time. Uh-huh. So the last time I went to another country, it was like I went to England, I went to Australia. They gave you like beer and wine on the plane. It wasn't like
for sure.
And and they didn't charge me for beer and wine on the plane. Beer and wine was included.
International flights,
right?
Incredibly common. And he's flying to Europe for them to get beer and wine. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm like, you needed the shooters? Like you need like, and so it was very confusing. Like you couldn't like get there early. If you get there early, you can get into the lounge. You can get a little bit drunk in the lounge. You get on the plane, they're giving you beer and wine the whole time. It seems like that'd be fine.
All around dumb decision. Like just a rookie, right? Everything about this is so rookie. Mm-hmm. Like, are you new here? I don't know. And I don't want to hate on him because, not everybody has the experience of flying to other countries and knowing that, they offer free beer and wine. I mean, you probably could have looked it up on your ticket if you're really that concerned about it. But, but at the same time, like, is that worth the risk? Like, yeah, it worked out for you and you can laugh about it now. But if this is your decision-making process, like, dumb.
Oh, it is 100% just it shows, how juvenile he still is, right. Because it is 100% it's a frat boy thing. It's like when we used to try to, like, when we go to like college football games and stuff and you pour like the vodka into the water bottle and then try to like burn it so it seals the water bottle back up and they let you in because it's sealed. Like it's that kind of bullshit, right? It's like college age, like bullshit, which I think was funny because he's the only one who was smart enough to keep his mouth shut about Adnan. Like Adnan was right. And at some point they were eating like lunch and I think it was Loren trying to be like, no, we're on your side, Adnan. It's fine. Yeah. Right, Joe? And he was just like, eat. I'm sorry, I'm eating. Like, and then they switched to him and he was like, no, I wish him the best, but he's kind of an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, and to his like credit, like even though he's making a dumb mistake, I do think he's probably one of the more socially aware people on this show. He knows that, okay, I did this really stupid thing. I'm going to say that I forgot my passport.
Well, he also, he knew that if he said I need to go back and get my shooters, they weren't turning the van around.
Right. Yeah, true that too. All right, let's move on to Veah and Sonny. So when Veah returned to the U.S., they were still struggling with Sonny's dad's reaction to their engagement, so they ended up breaking up. They've talked a few times since, And Sunny gave her space, but then found out that she was, quote, seeing someone, even though we find out that it's just a date. They had gone to Disney World, because they're in Florida, and there wasn't even a kiss on this date. Brian, the human lie detector, says she looked up, so she must be lying, that she must have done something on this date. But Sunny saw the messages on Snapchat a month later after this and after they're getting back together and got jealous because it was with the guy who babysat her dog when she was visiting Sunny. So Sunny didn't like it because she had always claimed that they were friends. Veah did work things out with Sunny and their relationship is better than ever. So Adnan then demands that Sunny be more controlling like Adnan. And Sunny doesn't want to destroy their relationship. So Adnan is just yelling random phrases like, be more jealous, be a man, etc., speaking over Veah, which then prompts Vanja to tell Adnan to just shut up. Sunny addresses Adnan and says that he's not going to kill a 2-year relationship over his jealousy. Sean, the host, questions if you can really just be friends with exes or friends or dog walkers. Vanja seems to think you can have platonic relationships, and Brian thinks you can't. Niles thinks that if you're going to cheat, it doesn't matter who you're around. Adnan thinks that cheating will happen if there's sexy women around. Veah is frustrated that everyone is implying that she's cheating. Niles just points out that it might seem that way to Sunny, or at least make him feel that way. Sunny has to go back to Bangladesh because his visa is up, and Veah will be visiting him there until their K-1 visa is approved. Veah has submitted the paperwork. Sunny just has to pay the $1,500. Adnan then asks if Sunny had premarital sex, and Sunny says yes. Veah says that he can do what he wants because he's not a strict Muslim, and Adnan then starts yelling that it's the worst thing in Allah. Adnan wants him to admit that he's an idiot.
The worst thing in Allah. Like, I have to imagine that killing people is worse than premarital sex.
I don't know. There's a lot of very strict Muslims that seem to justify their murder.
I don't think killing like the other people that you consider God's people, like killing other Muslims or something like, killing specifically the people that are,
Okay, so Sunny says that he does religion for himself and that he can ask God for forgiveness. Adnan asks why he's changing Allah. Sunny admits to doing mistakes, as he keeps on saying, and he talks to Allah, and Allah gives him a second chance to figure it out. Adnan then makes it about him and about how he never had premarital sex. And it's like, yeah, but Tigerlily, come on. She was pretty sure she had a shotgun wedding, like the first or second marriage, whatever. One of those was a shotgun marriage. Anyways, Veah says that they are clearly living a different life, so they can't just, compare themselves, and that they're choosing for themselves. And Adnan says that, no, all Muslims live the same life, and that he's not Muslim and he can't marry a non-Muslim. And then Vanja points out that Tigerlily isn't Muslim, and Adnan says, well, she's Christian and she has a religion. And Veah has no idea why she's being attacked and says that she believes in Jesus, same as Tigerlily. Adnan keeps saying it's not a game. Sunny says eventually he wants her to convert, and Sunny says that if he forces her to, it will chase her away, and he just knows that she will see on her own that his religion will bring her peace and she will convert. Veah says that she will never convert. Sunny needs time to change her mind. Veah just says that they'll talk about this later. Vanja asks why his religion is more valid than hers, and Sunny says it's because he's the man. Adnan asks what they will do when they have kids. Magda points out... Oh, Magda! Stupid Joe! Magda points out that she doesn't seem to want to convert. Tigerlily says conversion is a personal choice. Sunny says that he only talks to his dad about business now. Veah says that looking back, she would have done more to cover her tattoos and maybe not have walked out on Sunny's dad. Sunny says that love has made him blind and hopes that his dad will forgive him when there's grandkids. Adnan brings up cheating again, and Tigerlily has to explain why it wasn't cheating, and Adnan says that doesn't matter, he doesn't trust Veah, as he makes some kind of weird constipated face of some kind. Okay, so it's pretty clear that Sunny and Veah are not on the same page when it comes to conversion, and I feel like Sunny has revealed his long-term plan of trying to convert her. Why doesn't she just leave? Because it doesn't seem like he's going to change his mind about this.
But the thing is like, he's been pretty consistent with that. I don't think it's some sort of revelation, right? He's been pretty consistent with it, or at least since we found out that it's important to him, right? Is that like, it's going to happen. I don't really care how long it takes, but I know it's going to happen because, and we've seen this repeatedly.
With Renee and Chidi, not a good example.
Yes. Well, Renee and Chidi, we've seen it happen with basically all the we've had lots of Muslim men who demanded conversion and it didn't happen and they broke up, right?
Yeah.
Or they did under forced things. The only convert to Muslim we've had that was success was Avery, and she had converted before, right? And it just is like, they just have such blind faith in their faith, which isn't saying it's a bad thing, but they're just like, given enough exposure to it, they'll come to understand that it's the best. Like there's no other way you could think anything else was better or anything else. Like, obviously, if I just keep her around Islam and the teachings and stuff long enough, she'll come to realize that it's the best, which is the same thing Renee did with her, whatever Illuminati shit, right? It's like, when I explain it to him, he'll realize it's the best. And it's just that's one of the things that bugs me about some extreme religious adherents is anybody who's not this religion just hasn't heard about it before. And it's like, I have though. And they have, you can't just assume everybody else is ignorant of your religion, because if they weren't ignorant of your religion, they would be your religion. And that's just, that's just a thought process I don't understand, but that's clearly what he thinks.
Yeah.
I mean, and then Adnan has a very different idea of what the religion is. What it's supposed to be like.
Yeah. It is kind of interesting to hear his perspective, but I mean, as interesting as it is, because these are two men who are supposed to be the same religion, it's like Adnan he's just so ridiculous in how he presents any of his arguments that you're just like, okay, you just ignore him. How can you just yell random things? You should be controlling. You should be a man. It's like, this is not part of the argument. Right? So he's just so ridiculous.
Yeah, it very much is the right way, the correct way to deal with Adnan is, okay, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Everybody just needs to oh yeah, sure, your relationship is the best one here, and then just generally ignore him.
And they just need a cool story, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Adnan. Yeah, and that is probably the best way to hit, of course. And of course he just lash out more and more, but then that would make you look comparatively good, because you're just like, okay. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
All right. So we also have one more different jackass that we had to tear from today, and that's with Brian and Ingrid. So it finally becomes Brian and Ingrid's turn, and Sean first checks in with where things stand today. Brian says that the last time he spoke to Ingrid was the last time they filmed together. And Ingrid said it's been pretty chill seeing Brian now, seeing as how they both found other people, so it all kind of worked out at the end. So, but now we have to dig into everything. So I asked Brian if he's still sticking to his story that he had at the end, that she never really tried to make the relationship work. He says that obviously she tried a little bit. She did see him and go with him to Recife and stuff, but he feels like she wasn't ready for it all. And it all in this case means wheelchair stuff. He tells some stories about like how when he's riding down the road, he jumps off of curbs like without hesitation. And she was like being protectively momish, just being like, oh my God, are you okay? Oh, what happened? And that was off-putting to him. She says that's not just a wheelchair thing. That's just a mom thing. When I see sudden movements out of the corner of my eye, it's just like, oh, what happened? Like, it's just there. So then we get into the very awkward sexual encounter where we, saw them kind of getting hot and heavy, and then Ingrid noped out of it, and we just heard about it later. And we see a flashback of it, and Brian's like giggling on the inset camera during it as disturbing. Anyway, Sean asks if anyone else agrees about how oral is much more intimate than, intercourse. And it seems like most of the girls on stage are like, yep, yeah, I get it. And Joey is like, that's pretty aggressive to go straight to oral when you haven't even like made out or anything yet. Like just going right down there. So Adnan, again, probably because Brian supported him earlier, thinks this is Ingrid's fault. Obviously, why did she start a relationship if you didn't want to do anything? Which was funny because this is like, I can't remember right after he was like just ragging on
premarital sex.
Sonny for premarital sex. But that's because Sonny's Muslim and she's not. And he holds them different standards. But she was like, look, I was kind of taught not to hook up with people right at like the first week of meeting them. So that's when, and then Adnan and Tigerlily just like slut shame her for a while because she put on lingerie, and they're like, well, come on, you put on lingerie. Obviously you gotta go all the way if you do that. Otherwise you're just like showing off and teasing. That's just silly. They think it's a huge laugh that she'd wear that and just not put out. So Ingrid counters that she's like, dude, I live in Brazil. People dress like that at the bank. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And Vanja suggests she wore it just because it was a gift and she wanted to make him happy.
Yeah.
And it's totally possible to wear that and then not want to have sex afterwards.
Right.
Brian comes with more details though. Like he said that before they stopped, they tried to stop at a pharmacy and buy condoms, but it was closed, so they couldn't. And so he thought that was just a green light. And Ingrid, they ask, well, did that really happen? And she's like, well, at some point we stopped to do that. That is a thing that happened. I don't remember if it was right before this encounter or not. So they get to talking, and Ingrid says, about how she said he was too eager, which Loren is like, yeah, I get that. I don't know if he's gotten that from other people or if he understands what that means, but Loren's like, yeah, I know what she means by that. So then we hear the whole thing again. Oh, I was going down. I was kissing her stomach. And then I got a hand in my face and blah, blah, blah. And then he adds another detail to the story that didn't happen last time. And that's how after they were done and everybody was semi-clothed again, she said, she like put her finger up and was like, I have a boyfriend. And then Brian is like, I won. Checkmate. You said that. And then they asked her to clarify. And she's like, I didn't say that. I did say, she said she met someone, but either way, she seems to imply that it was just like her nervous like way of making sure, doing the thing. If you want a guy to leave you alone, just say you have a boyfriend. So like, to shut it down. She flatly denies that she had a boyfriend at the time. Sean asks if she really had feelings for Brian, and she said she did, and not for nothing. But a contributing factor to stopping him from going down on her is that you can still get STDs from oral sex. Oh, which gosh. Loren is like, yes, you can. I am aware.
Oh, gosh, Loren. Walking PSA.
I mean, that was legitimately funny for Loren to be like, yes, I know.
Yes.
That's a thing. Anyway, so then they bring on Brian's daughter, Brianna, to talk shit, ostensibly to talk shit about Ingrid, but I don't think she doesn't end up really doing all that much. She, of course, had heard Brian's side of all the stories and was interested hearing Ingrid's perspective. And now she just says this whole thing just sounds like a really extreme blind date. Not really love. So Brianna says that her dad really we asked if Brian had more feelings, and she's like, maybe higher hopes. Ages come up, and we're reminded how Ingrid is almost the same age as Brianna. Ingrid's a year older, so it's okay. But both Brian and Brianna are like, that's old news for this family. Like, we've been down that road already. We move on to a flashback where we get some of the unexpected revelations that Brian made in Brazil, the drugs, the catheter, the age, what else was there? Oh, the divorces, all these things. They asked Brianna about the catheter thing and how he tests his girlfriends, and she's like, yeah, that's pretty cringy, but I understand where it comes from. So Niles brings up his criminal past, like, oh, I can't believe you used to be a drug dealer. Again, and then Loren pipes up and is like, wait, are we not all friends with drug dealers? I thought we all... Where do you guys get your drugs? Like, I don't understand if you're not. He didn't say where do you get your drugs, but that seemed to be the implication from Loren. So anyway, Ingrid, his age, he swears she had to know about it. Like, I tell everybody my age right away. Mm-hmm. And Brianna's like, well, what did you all talk about for like the years that you were talking online before you went down there? Ingrid says, well, I don't know. He was just happy all the time. And it wasn't about how we got married 4 times. So Brian fires back and said, well, don't you have 2 baby daddies? Who are you to be accusing me? And that's when they ask her to comment. And she's just like, this is dumb. I'm not going to say anything. The more I say, the more he's just going to fire bullets, is the way she puts it. So Sean asks Brianna if she thinks her dad should take some time to herself. And she's like, yeah, but he won't. So what's the matter? And then at the post-show lunch, she says, he has no hard feelings toward Ingrid. But when he leaves, Niles is like, dude, that guy's pretty creepy. I mean, okay, so let's get to it. I think the biggest revelation here, at least the biggest accusation, was this I have a boyfriend thing.
Yeah.
So I don't think either of them are telling us the complete truth, but kind of which side do you find more believable or accurate?
I could see both sides, right? Because I could see her just wanting to shut things down. So to make up a boyfriend situation. But then it's just like, why? And it does kind of fit in with the whole, like, well, why would you dress up in the lingerie that he bought you if you didn't intend for things to happen, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like her making it up would kind of fit that narrative a little bit more. But I don't know. I feel like Brian, he kind of lies to people about, I don't have any ill will. I think he for sure is feeling rejected and doesn't want for the best and wants to make her look bad, which is why he's bringing up this
100% wants to make her look bad, for sure.
Right, this boyfriend accusation. But I think we see in the the sneak peek for the next part of the tell-all, they both have moved on. So who the fuck cares? The only way that I would say that Ingrid really truly had this other dude on the side is if she was dating the same guy from, before. Like, if there's overlap with Brian and this other guy, that would be the only way to me that I'd be like, oh yeah, she was genuinely seeing some other dude. But if this is some brand new dude, I don't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, right. I mean, I don't know what I feel like, but I also do feel like if I was the other dude, I would be happy that my girlfriend didn't have sex with somebody else.
Yeah.
Would not be happy that he was like lotioning her up in lingerie. That would be like, I feel like we're 80% of the way towards cheating here. This is not okay. Like,
yeah, definitely. So, I don't know. I feel that Ingrid she was not physically attracted to him in real life once she met him. I certainly think the age had something to do with that.
100%.
As soon as she found out the age, which was very early on, she immediately was like kind of grossed out. It was like almost like physically evident that she was grossed out by how old he was. She compared him to her father's age, which she did not seem down for that. And I feel like she never recovered from that situation. And I don't think that means either of them really did anything wrong, except for I will fault Brian for, I'm sorry, just because you look young or you're trying to filter out younger women, you can't lie about your age and then get upset when they are grossed out by the fact that you're really your age.
Yes. You definitely, it's not okay to lie about your age so that you'll be caught in the younger people's filters, which is 100% what he's doing.
Oh, for sure he did.
Right. And then be like, well, that doesn't count because I tell them right away. And apparently you don't tell everybody right away. You think you tell everybody right away, but then you assume, well, I've talked to them already, so they know. Right. And then move on from that, because I agree. It was the age thing, especially when she was like my dad's age. You could visibly see it. You could see it turn. And she's willing to go along because he's here, whatever. And I think if he ended up being just like an otherwise otherworldly amazing guy, she'd be like, I think I can get over the age thing. Right. But when there was nothing really up, when it was a meh, like, experience anyway, then it was like, well, I'm not getting over the age thing. It's not going to happen.
Right. And I could see her saying, like, let me give it time and see how I feel about it.
Sure.
You know,
Oh yeah,
and
everything you, some things you recoil from age-wise, especially
Mhm.
age-wise. I was going to say especially, but sometimes you learn something and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
and then you have time to think about it. And you're like, yeah, you know what? Maybe age is nothing
Yeah.
but a number or whatever, right? You kind of
Right.
come around to being like, I can give it a try. And you do have to give yourself time to do that and not just go with your initial disgust, which it more or less seemed to be.
Yeah. And then Brian's just trying to make it out to be
Oh, Brian just wants to be the good guy.
right. And that's out of his control. Like, you know, something that he, you know, victimizes himself over. He's trying to make it about that when it's like, no, it's about your lie. And the
Yeah.
fact that you're older. You're too old
Right.
for her.
Yes. I mean, which Niles seemed to bring up, but like, it was like, it went about it. But and I'm surprised that didn't come up. Like, why is your dating app age wrong, Brian?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Well, that seems suspicious. It doesn't matter if you tell people about it. Why is it wrong?
Yeah. Sean needs to ask these good questions. Instead,
Yeah.
she, you know, asks. It's not that she never asks hard questions, but some of the hard questions she was asking was like, okay, that was out of left field.
Yeah,
Were you
like
even thinking that?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like we brought it up multiple times with Niles, and it was like there are actual things that happened in the show that have not been resolved, and you're just
Mhm.
bringing in social media posts.
Yeah.
Like
You're bringing
what
up
is it?
to Joe and Magda, like, if you go to the bathroom and talk to the person, it's like, who cares?
Yeah,
That's
right,
not a
yeah.
burning question anybody has.
No, yeah, it's yeah. Well, what about the toilet thing? It's like, what about the toilet thing? Like,
Yeah, right.
it was not an issue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, out of the group you saw this week, who did you say was your student of the week?
I I will say, let's say Magda. I think she was fine. She was like a reasonable person with reasonable expectations. And like, I feel like the other thing, people kept trying to get her to like be more angry and upset about the situation. And she's like, it is what it is. They're like, but how long are you going to wait? Are you going to keep waiting? And she's like, yeah, I guess so. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Like, just sit here and be like, no, Joe, you must propose to me now. Like, she was like, okay. Like,
yeah. I went with Veah. Just simply because she seemed more of a pushover when we saw her this season. And maybe not so much of a pushover all the time, so much as she just seemed very unsure of herself sometimes. So she just kind of went along with things because she just seemed really anxious or scared of stuff. But I think that she brought up major good points. And then even with the thing that, you know, like the conversion, she could identify they were not on the same page. This is not something that they were going to resolve right at this moment. So she said, we will talk about this later.
Yeah.
So I felt like she handled herself very well in a way that defended her position on things.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially like the part 2 where they're like accusing her of
cheating. Yeah. She
well, they
was like,
accused her
I
of
am
cheating,
not cheating. Yeah.
but they also accused her of, they said it was inappropriate, like, because Tigerlily did not convert to Islam.
Yeah.
But that's okay because she's a Christian and that is an Abrahamic religion. So that's a acceptable thing. And they just assumed she was atheist. And she's like, how are you going to tell me I'm atheist? Like, how are you going to tell me what I do and don't believe? Get the hell out of here.
And then I believe she used the F word and Jesus right next to each other to prove her point. And I was like, okay, Veah. All right. What about your dunce?
My dunce, I went with Tigerlily. Like, I feel like as easy it is to give it Adnan. I gave it to him last time. He'll be infuriating again. He's awful. But like, I feel like she's just as awful. She just lets him fight the battles for her.
Yeah.
And she also called Niles a dog. Like, and she was like, oh, he's just a little puppy chihuahua. He thinks he's a Rottweiler, but he's really she's
annoying.
Well,
guess
annoying.
what? We only have one more 2 possibly episodes of seeing them and then never again.
Gone. Yeah.
I went with Joe this time. Come on, dude. Like, you're going to risk missing your flight over something you can get at the airport. That's just pure stupidity.
Although Joe had my favorite joke of the whole tell-all because they were like, because they were talking about, well, you're going to propose, and Brian was like that specifically. He's like, listen, Brian, I know you've done it 7 times, but this is new for me.
Yeah. He is like, I don't want to say charming, but he's got dad jokes for days, right? And sometimes he's funny.
I mean, if I was at a bar, he's the kind of guy I would want at the bar. Like,
yeah.
Like, for sure. Like, I don't know that I want to be in a relationship with him
Oh,
or
no.
be relying on
He's
him for
a fun
anything.
time. Yeah.
But if he's the guy who I happen to sit next to at the bar, we'll have a good time. It'll be fine.
He's irresponsible fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, what about your life lesson?
Okay, so this one goes to Loren. Definitionally, drown means dead. You can't have drowned 8 times and not be dead. Drown means dead.
Oh my gosh, Loren. Yeah, for real. That's why Vanya's reaction, you're insane. And I think it's hilarious that she just said it to his face. And
you can be like,
reaction.
oh man, I almost drowned 8 times. That's fine. You cannot drown 8 times. Drown literally means to die by inhaling water. That's what drowning means.
Oh my goodness. My life lesson is for Magda, but I would say that a different context than Magda, right? But if you are pressuring someone into doing something that you want, especially when it's something that they're having hesitations about, because it's like a commitment thing, like marriage, you cannot be reminding them every week because those stubborn people are going to dig in even more. And you reminding them every week is not going to
there's another week that I'm going to put it off. Yep.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I get that her situation is different than the typical person, but still. All right. We know for sure there's another tell-all that would be part 3. Do we know for 3?
It's 4. I think it's 4 because of when the next season of OG starts.
All right. So we got 2 more tell-all parts. Hopefully only 2 more times we'll see some of these people again.
Yeah. I'm hoping most of them we never see again. We won't see none of them are coming back in the next season anyway.
Well, the next season is the original 90 Day Fiancé.
Right, which sometimes before the 90 days people end up on the original.
Sure. But I think the ones that were kind of close to getting married are married already.
Right, they're already married.
Right. Yeah, which is something that's not super common on before the 90 days.
Right.
But looking at the couples that got released for the 90
it's
day,
not great.
It's not good. I'm actually not looking forward to this. And part of the problem is we got 3 repeat couples. We got Shekinah and Sarper.
This is like their, 3rd or 4th season? 3rd? I think it'll be their 3rd.
It's their 3rd. I'm so over them. And then we've got Aaliyah, and I can't remember her dude, Ken, maybe. They were on Love in Paradise. And I cannot remember their names. Another one from Love in Paradise where he was a cruise entertainer and she got pregnant. And so they've had a baby already.
I thought when they made Love in Paradise, at least the first time, that it was more or less, these aren't good enough for before the 90 days. These couples actually kind of suck, right? They actually, but now these are the couples that are all going to be in the main show. That seems like a terrible choice.
Right. And so I do feel like to some extent, it just feels like they are scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
Yeah, sure.
And so, and I feel like that is what makes me feel like not excited about this group. Yeah. So hopefully it'll be better than it sounds. But until next week.
Yep. See everybody next week.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye.